Good afternoon. I'm pleased to declare the 2018 commencement for the Quinnipiac University Frank H. Netter, MD, School of Medicine officially open. Would everyone please stand for the national anthem? And would you remain standing after the national anthem for the invocation? The national anthem will be performed by Angel Romero, voice student at Yale School of Music.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming? whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the rampart we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and rocket red glare, the bunt bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The invocation will be delivered by Colby Putnam, Protestant chaplain.
As I pray according to my tradition, I invite you to pray alongside me in yours. Lord, as we begin this ceremony, we give you thanks for Quinnipiac University, for its faculty, and for its staff. We thank you for the privilege of education, and we thank you for the friends and family gathered today. And thank you for these graduates whose hard work has brought them to this day of celebration. May the words of wisdom spoken today bear fruit in lifetimes of seeking peace, love, justice, and truth. We ask for your blessing over this ceremony and your provision for their futures. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please be seated. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the members of our platform party, which consists of our speaker and honorary degree recipient, whom we meet in a few moments, university administrators, deans, and representatives of the university and the School of Medicine. It's now my privilege to introduce Dr. John L. Leahy, president of Quinnipiac University, to bring you greetings on behalf of the university community.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to all of you on this wonderful day of joy and celebration. To our 2018 Frank H. Netter, MD School of Medicine graduates, I want to extend my heartiest congratulations. You should all feel justifiably proud of your accomplishment and most deserving of the degrees that will be conferred upon you today. This year's graduating class has had exceptional performance in the classroom and in your various clinical experiences. You have completed more than 5,000 hours of community service, published in journals, created a nonprofit organization in Kenya, and presented capstone projects at symposia around the country. In addition, all of you have secured prestigious U.S. residencies in some of the very best academic medical centers in the country, including Johns Hopkins, Duke, NYU, and 3 of you will be doing residencies at Yale Medicine within the Yale New Haven health system. As both the president of Quinnipiac University and a longtime board member of Yale New Haven Hospital and the Yale New Haven health system, words alone cannot express how incredibly proud I am of these accomplishments by our very own 2018 graduating class from the Netter School of Medicine. And you have certainly set a very high standard for all future classes. I want to extend congratulations and thanks to Dean Bruce Keppen and the faculty and staff at the Netter School of Medicine for their hard work, leadership, and support leading up to today's commencements. In the final analysis, though, a medical school, like any other school, will be judged best by its graduates. And so, members of the class of 2018, we are depending on you to make the best use possible of the education you have received at the Frank Netter School of Medicine. You have already left a significant mark on our School of Medicine, and I have no doubt you will leave an even greater mark on the world that awaits you. Again, my congratulations and best wishes to each and every one of you.
It's now my privilege to turn the program over to Dr. Bruce Keppen, Dean of the School of Medicine.
Thank you, Provost Thompson. Before I give some brief remarks, I think it is important to note that none of us would be here on this great day if it were not for the vision of President Leahy to build the Frank H. Netter, MD, School of Medicine at Quinnipiac University. With his upcoming retirement, this will be the last School of Medicine commencement ceremony President Leahy will preside over. Therefore, on behalf of the faculty, staff, and students, it is my pleasure and honor to present this crystal bowl to President Leahy. Its inscription reads, President John L. Leahy, with appreciation and thanks for your vision and support, Frank H. Netter, MD, School of Medicine, Quinnipiac University. The bowl also bears the university seal. Please join me in thanking him. To begin, I would like to take this opportunity to wish all the mothers here today a very happy Mother's Day. I can only imagine the pride you must feel as your son or daughter becomes a doctor within the hour. On behalf of the School of Medicine, I would like to welcome the members of the class of 2018, their families and friends, and our many special guests, as well as representatives from our clinical partners. I would be remiss if I did not also acknowledge the faculty and staff who are here and who have done so much to get us to this day. Thank you. Now to the family and friends of the class of 2018. You have much to be proud of today. Your graduate is special to you, and they are all certainly special to us. Thank you for sharing them with us for these past 4 years. I trust that in your eyes we have treated them well. If you have been financially supporting your graduate, I'm pleased to say those days are now over. Starting next month, they earn money. Dear members of the class of 2018, it seems like only yesterday that we were in this arena for your white coat ceremony. It has truly been an amazing 4 years, and for me, they have flown by. I am quite sure that at times you may have felt overshadowed by the inaugural class, as the second-born child often feels. But know that you are indeed special and will always be so. You took a chance coming to a new medical school. When you joined the Netter School back in August of 2014, you had to trust that we would prepare you to succeed on the USMLE licensing exams because no Netter student had yet taken Step 1 or the 2 components of Step 2. You also had to trust that we would help you match into that all-important residency program so that you could complete your training and become the physician you aspired to be. While I will allow the faculty and staff to take some credit for your successes, the truth is you did it. Be proud. In addition to impressive academic accomplishments, you gave freely of your time to help others. Over the course of your 4 years with us, as you heard from President Leahy, you delivered over 5,000 hours of service to others, including projects in Nicaragua, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Kenya. And if this wasn't enough, some of you even found time to start a family. A total of 8 babies were born to members of your class, and if any of your children should aspire to be physicians and choose Netter as their medical school, I can assure you they will be given special consideration based upon your legacy. I could go on about your many accomplishments, but I know that you are anxiously awaiting the conferral of your degree. As you leave the Netter School, I know that I speak on behalf of all the faculty and staff that we wish you only the very best in your careers. I know you will make us proud because you have already done so. Thank you for choosing Netter as your medical school. You are always welcome here, so please come back and come back often. Congratulations and best wishes. It is now my pleasure to introduce Rena Alcalde, President of the Class of 2018.
All right. 4 years ago, 4 incredible, alarmingly quick, yet sometimes remarkably long, 4 years ago, I can remember sitting in the lecture hall on that first day of orientation when our Dean of Student Affairs at that time asked us to look to our left, look to our right, and commit to being pillars of support for each other, to being team players, and to investing right then in making sure we all made it here to this moment today. So we did as he asked, and right then and there, we embarked upon the first step of a lifelong journey into this amazing and rewarding career we've chosen for ourselves. And we did it together. We all stepped foot on this campus together. We climbed aboard this emotional roller coaster that is medical school together. And we experienced a hodgepodge of feelings together: nervous, excited, apprehensive, curious, motivated, then later perhaps exhausted, confused, and occasionally panicky. And if this weren't enough of a huge life transition, we also took a little bit of a risk together. We signed up to be part of the foundations of a brand new medical school. We spent those first few weeks adjusting to our new environment and to each other, the wonderful, brilliant, and caring people who are on this adventure with us. Now, as I look once again to my left and to my right, and then all around the room at each of you, I am proud to say that we did it. We were there for each other from day one and right on through to the very last day. I can think of so many moments when classmates came through for each other in times of overwhelming stress. We all remember step studying, to bring each other baked goods or dinner, or to physically pull one another from our computers so that we'd remember to take breaks and be actual human beings sometimes. We bounced ideas off of each other, whether it was the early concepts of a capstone project or the merits of pursuing one specialty over another, and we trusted and encouraged each other every step of the way. With the support of our faculty, who were wholly invested in our success, we built a strange, sometimes dysfunctional, but mostly loving family, which actually I think is what most families are anyway, in these brief 4 years at Netter. Now, as we finally disembark from the roller coaster ride and join a new family in each of our respective residencies, I would like to suggest that we do it again. We take a moment, look around, and invest in each other, to be pillars of support for each other throughout our careers. Decide right now to continue what we started and be there for each other. We have built a network of friends and colleagues across the United States, from Alaska to Texas, California, Florida, and elsewhere, and in all fields of medicine one could conceive of. We are leaving behind a legacy of having helped build this school and lay the groundwork for years of medical students to come. And we carry with pride the title of Graduates of Netter, Class of 2018, wherever we go. I, for one, am brimming with excitement to see what our 2018 family does next together.
Thank you, Rena. I would ask Dr. Carolyn Masisa, Provost Thompson, and President Leahy to come forward with Dr. Frederick Kaplan for the awarding of an honorary degree to Dr. Kaplan.
Dr. Frederick Kaplan, the father of clinical genetics. Victor McCusick once declared you as one of the outstanding orthopedic researchers of your generation for your renowned work with heterotopic bone formation. After graduating with your MD from Johns Hopkins University, you became a Hartford Foundation Research Fellow in Human Genetics and Molecular Biology. In 1988, as an orthopedic surgeon, you met a child with fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, known as FOP, an ultra-rare, incurable disorder in which the body effectively forms a second skeleton. Your ensuing research led to your co-discovery of the gene that causes FOP, as well as the gene that causes progressive osseous heteroplasia, another skeletal disorder. Along with your colleague, Dr. Eileen Shore, you direct the only center in the world devoted entirely to this work and to the advocacy and education for the patient population. In 1997, you were awarded the first endowed chair in the nation for orthopedic molecular medicine at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. In 2006, Newsweek magazine named you one of the 15 greatest people in America, noting that FOP was so rare that nobody wanted to study it before your work began. You have said that uncovering the master key of the skeleton could someday enable scientists to design a drug that turns off a bone growth switch in FOP, but to also stop the much more common complication of abnormal bone growth after hip replacement or spinal cord injury. During the early 1980s, you worked with medical illustrator Dr. Frank H. Netter, for whom our medical school is named, on several booklets about osteoporosis and 3 atlases on the musculoskeletal system. Describing him as a master who produced masterpieces, you once remarked that no one has had a more profound influence on generations of medical students than Dr. Netter. For your dedication to unraveling the mystery of FOP and related musculoskeletal diseases, and your enduring compassion for your patients and their families, Quinnipiac University is pleased to present you with an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters this 13th day of May, 2018.
By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
It is now my privilege to introduce Quinnipiac's newest alumnus, Dr. Frederick Kaplan, who will give our keynote address.
Thank you. There is no event in the academic world more sacred than a graduation from medical school. Sacred because you are entrusted today with the care of that which is most sacred, human beings and human life. To have been selected by you to share this milestone with you and your families is truly a magnificent honor, and I am proud to be here with you. It is incredibly humbling for me to receive an honorary degree from a school that bears the name of a dear friend and mentor, Frank H. Netter. President Leahy, members of the Board of Trustees, Dean Keppen, faculty, students, and honored guests, a profound thank you. Well, medical school is over, but a lifetime of learning is just beginning. And you have all been extremely well prepared by this magnificent faculty. It has been 42 years since I graduated from medical school. To be honest, I was not the best medical student. Years later, one of my own medical students asked me, Dr. Kaplan, when you went to medical school, there was not much to know. What did you do in 4 years? I answered, not as much as I should have. In medical school, I was interested in everything and focused on almost nothing. After the first exam, my anatomy professor asked if I was having trouble, and I told him I didn't think so. Everything was interesting. He sighed deeply and suggested strongly that I focus on the assignments. And he added, Fred, you will have plenty of time later to delve into what interests you. Fast forward many years. I was talking to Dr. Netter one day during our long lunch breaks at his home in Palm Beach and discussing some fine points of musculoskeletal anatomy for one of the many symposia and atlases we authored together. I asked him if he enjoyed anatomy in medical school, and he said, not really. I was stunned. He said, I found it very challenging, and he described how we would often linger in the anatomy lab late at night, quote, making pictures of the dissections. Picture that. He told me that the anatomy professor came by late one night to make sure that all the cadavers were covered, and there he found first-year medical student Frank Netter making pictures. The anatomy professor asked me, Frank, what are you doing? You should be home studying. But I am studying, I told him. I study by making pictures. Frank, go home and study, the professor responded. You will never pass the exam this way. Dr. Netter confessed that he had not been a very good student and that his grades suffered because he was so busy making pictures. Did he know who he was talking to? I asked him. You know, Freddie, he said. He always called me Freddie. I wasn't Frank Netter back then. Well, I was Frank Netter, but I wasn't famous back then. I was just a medical student trying to learn by making pictures. So there you are, one young medical student struggling to learn anatomy, using his artistic skills to teach himself, and from there, nearly every medical student in the latter part of the 20th century. I worked with Dr. Netter on many projects for many years. We spent a lot of time together. He was like a great uncle to me, a cauldron of wisdom, always ready for a dill pickle and a corned beef sandwich. Picture that. I could have listened to him for days, and I did. Listen to others, but do it your way, he used to tell me. And when you make pictures, it's always a good idea to tell a story and leave some blank space on the canvas. And he added, that's true in life as well, Freddie. Dr. Netter epitomized for me someone who started his career in the mainstream of medicine, but navigated deftly through necessity and opportunity into the back channels where he flourished. Art and medicine was the river that ran through it all, and passion for learning and compassion, education and empathy, the principles on which this great university is founded and this great school of medicine is founded, and on which our entire careers are based, was his vessel. He defined it and he lived it. Picture that. When I'm around artists, Dr. Netter said, they treat me like a doctor. But when I'm around doctors, they treat me like an artist. He told me that when he was a young man, long before medical school, he took some drawing lessons from his friend, Norman Rockwell. Norman said to me one day, Frank, I have taught you everything I know. Whether you become a good artist or a great artist depends on what's in your heart, not in your head. And you know, Freddie, Dr. Netter said, it's the same in medicine. Did you always know what you wanted to do? I asked him. You know, Freddie, I was 11 years old. I walked into the kitchen one day and found my mother sound asleep in a chair while peeling potatoes. I picked up a pencil and started drawing. That's the first picture I ever made. He had it in his desk drawer and he showed it to me. It was remarkable, a testament of compassion and empathy at 11 years old. Picture that. Dr. Netter told me that his mother influenced him profoundly as a young man to become a doctor. Now that's a tribute to Mother's Day. She didn't want me to be an artist, Freddie. I was a successful commercial artist in New York City, making window displays for the Arrow Shirt Company and working for various movie magazines. His mother said to him one day, you know, Frank, you should not be an artist. They live in unheated garrets, carouse with nude models, stay up all night drinking, and I'll never forget that description. Dr. Netter paused, looked at me with a twinkle in his eye, and he said, you know, Freddie, it didn't sound like such a bad life to me. But his mother continued, you should do something worthwhile with your life, Frank. You have a gift for learning. Be a doctor. If things get tough, you can always fall back on that. Dr. Netter explained, this was the 1920s, Freddie, so I listened to her advice. I went to medical school. I graduated. I did my internship at Bellevue. I became a general surgeon and loved it, but it was the depths of the depression. I had a family, I couldn't make ends meet, but I could make pictures. That's how it started. It paid the bills. When things got tough, he said, I used my talents as a physician and artist. That's what I really loved. Those were the circumstances no one could have predicted. Play the tape backwards and it all makes sense. Play it forwards and it's totally unexpected. There is a lesson there. Be ready for change and embrace it. The Dr. Netter we know and love was invented along the way. He didn't set out to do this. Picture that. As I told you, I was not the best medical student, diffuse and unfocused, interested in everything. Came time to apply for residencies, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. Everything interested me. I found myself particularly interested in orthopedics, but for all the wrong reasons. I cared less about how to fix broken bones than why the bones broke in the first place. No one else really cared. Osteoporosis was not a household word then. Working from the ground up, I taught myself metabolic bone disease, and then I taught it to the residents. This surprised the surgeons, and because of it, I was asked to join the faculty and start a metabolic bone disease clinic. Even though I was a relatively junior person, this unusual medical approach to a traditionally surgical problem is what landed me on the doorstep of Dr. Netter, working with him to help educate the next generation. Well, actually, I found myself at the Palm Beach airport on my first visit to work with Dr. Netter. There he was, waiting for me with a Hawaiian shirt, an ascot, khaki pants splattered with paint, and white loafers, smoking a cigar. In those days, you could smoke in airports. Picture that. Others looked at him with dismay. I looked at him with reverence. This was my greatest teacher, who I had never met. I recognized him from the pictures. If only the others in the airport that day knew what I knew, that this was the doctor that educated their doctors. We spent many days together, over many years, making pictures, writing text, discussing medicine, art, and life. So much of it was telling stories, mostly Dr. Netter telling stories and me listening. I listened to the stories and could picture them, all of them. We came back from lunch one day and were walking back to his studio. I had seen the pictures during my many visits, the series of 12 paintings on the life of a physician, quaint but timeless, an extraordinary collection of work that evoked a bygone era, paintings from his early years that adorned the hallway outside his office. There was a story behind each one, stepping stones and inspirations to an unexpected career in medicine and art, two passions he loved. I had told Dr. Netter at lunch that day that after 8 years at the university, I was embarking on a new research career, sparked by one of my patients, a little girl who was struggling with an exceptionally rare disease, where her muscles were turning to bone. I explained to Dr. Netter that although the condition was rare, it held lessons for more common bone diseases, and it needed to be solved. It was without a doubt the worst orthopedic condition I had ever encountered, and no one was working on it. I told Dr. Netter of the personal devastation that this little girl and her family were experiencing, that nothing could be done to help her, and that I needed to do research to figure out why. My colleagues thought I was completely insane. If I wanted to do research, they told me, I should work on common problems like arthritis and joint replacements, not some rare arcane disease. That's interesting, Freddie. You've been in practice 8 years. I didn't know you were interested in basic research, Dr. Netter said. I'm not, I responded, but we need answers. You know, Freddie, Dr. Netter said as he puffed on his cigar, it sounds like a very worthwhile cause. I can picture the effect it has on you. You should work on it. It would be a wonderful thing. Dr. Netter extinguished his cigar, stood up from his chair, and said, what do you say we get some ice cream? Great idea, I said. Great idea. His quiet wisdom and mentorship, his willingness to listen and reflect on my plans for the future, and his vision and insight to help me picture that future as only he could, were absolutely priceless at a critical time in my early career, and that was 8 years after medical school. It provided me with the strength to move forward on an incredible scientific mystery, medical catastrophe, and grand adventure that is still growing and thriving with enormous medical and scientific progress and tremendous personal fulfillment 30 years later. We all dream of doing something that perpetuates for generations. Few would dispute that Frank Netter has had a monumental impact on medical education in the 20th century. Frank Netter understood what it meant to be a physician, a director of dilemmas in people's lives, because he directed his own. He found what he loved, medicine and art. His pictures touched a deep, sensitive, and eternal chord in the human spirit. Each one of the Netter pictures tells a story. That was his story. You will each find yours. By ennobling his commitment to his passions in his unique way, Frank Netter brought honor to himself and to his entire profession. Frank Netter was a very special friend and mentor to me, and he was a very special friend to all of us in medicine. His legacy is part of yours, as it is part of mine. His name is on our diplomas as a reminder of the gift that we all have in our hands, the gift of a remarkable education and a passion for learning, used for the benefit of others. That's what being a doctor is about. Be open to opportunities and challenges. Be true to yourself. You don't have to do what's popular. Listen to your own inner voice. Picture your future and embrace it. And don't forget, leave some blank space on the canvas of life. Thank you again for this magnificent honor. Congratulations to each and every one of you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan, for those inspiring remarks. At this point, I would normally ask Dr. Kim Pham, the school's Dean of Students, to come forward to introduce the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine. Unfortunately, she has lost her voice. Pinch hitting for Dr. Pham is Dr. Mark Yeckel. And please note that as you exit the platform, stop to have your picture taken, and after that you will receive a copy of The Care of the Patient. Dr. Hal Kaplan will address the significance of this gift in his remarks later in the program. Dr. Yeckel.
Thank you. Edin Adilovich. James Ahern. James will be hooded by James Ahern. James is awarded for the excellent performance in a required clinical clerkship for family medicine. Samia Alam. Samia will be hooded by Sudhala Alam. Rana Akaldi. Rana will be hooded by Us Akaldi. Rana is the recipient of the Netter Dean's Leadership Award. The award recognizes a student who has demonstrated outstanding leadership to their class and to the school. Rana was nominated by the deans at Netter. She served as class president for 3 years, was instrumental in rewriting the student government constitution, served as student representative on multiple school-wide and university-wide committees, and was voted everybody's friend by her classmates. Congratulations, Rana. Christopher Anderson. Jeffrey Anderson. Kayla Bassett. Kayla is awarded excellent performance in a clerkship for surgery. She is also the recipient of the Connecticut chapter of the American College of Surgeons Award of Excellence. Congratulations, Kayla. Alexander Berg. Kyle Billadu. Kyle is awarded excellent performance in a clerkship for critical care. Congratulations, Kyle. Robert Birch. Robert will be hooded by Dr. Robert Birch. Jessica Bloomfield. Jessica will be hooded by Rebecca Rogers. Heather Boaz. Benjamin Brink. Benjamin is the recipient of the Connecticut chapter of the American College of Physicians Recognitions Award. Congratulations, Benjamin. Jose Burgos. Jose Candelario. Gregory Chamberlain. Alexander Chen. Spencer Church. Congratulations. Justin Cole. Ryan Cole. Brendan Comer. Congratulations. Katrina Crepano. Katrina is awarded excellent performance in the clerkship for emergency medicine. Congratulations, Katrina. Karen Dewolski. Nathan Dembowski. Megan Derbyshire. Anish Desai. Congratulations. Kristen Arico. Rachel Feldman. Okay. Caitlin Ford. Danny Fu. Danny will be hooded by Fei Yu. Uh-oh. Alexandria Georgia Dorelis. Corey Hassel. Corey will be hooded by Ilana Stahl. We're gonna make Jet Hooper. Rebecca Howe. Scott Infusino. Sharwat Jahan. David Joe. Andrew Kamalaris. Jillian Caplita. Matthew LaValle. Emma Lazarov. And Emma will be hooded by Stephen Lazarov. Brannon Leong. Brannon will be hooded by Bruce Leong and Tina Leong. Alex Lynn. Rose Lavelle. Kelly Lucchese. Gianna Lochetti. Van Mai. Samantha Mazietis. Samantha will be headed by one of our graduates, Howard Furlong. Lauren McNichol. Lauren McNichol is awarded excellent performance in a clerkship for pediatrics. Congratulations, Lauren. Darcy Moeller. Darcy will be headed by Ashley Allwood. Darcy is the recipient of the Gerald R. Berg MD Service Award. The award honors a member of the class who has shown selfless and compassionate service to the community outside of Netter. Darcy was nominated by her peers for the award due to her dedicated service at institutions such as the Connecticut Food Bank, St. Vincent's Medical Mission at Home, the National Kidney Foundation, the Bobcat Community Clinic, and Science Fridays at St. Martin de Porres Academy. Darcy's commitment to service inspired many of her classmates to volunteer their time for the community. Congratulations and thank you, Darcy. Hena Motiwala. Okay. Miad Mosivigagi. Okay. Vilma Mucha. Jane Olson. Avery Osella. Okay. Andrew O'Shea. Riddhi Parikh. Riddhi will be hooded by Nidhi Parikh Kudur. Erica Parisi. Suman Park. Suman is the recipient of the Leonard Toe Humanism in Medicine Award, sponsored by the Arnold P. Gold Foundation. The award recognizes the value of humanism in the delivery of care to patients and their families. Suman was nominated by her peers for the award due to her compassionate care of patients and commitment to seeing them as whole individuals. She assumed a leadership role in founding Netter's chapter of the Gold Humanism Honor Society and is committed to building a compassionate and empathic physician workforce. Congratulations, Suman. Dipesh Patel. Nicole Prendergrass. Sarah Rahman. Sarah will be hooded by Huma Shakil. Sarah is awarded excellent performance in a clerkship for obstetrics and gynecology. Congratulations, Sarah. David Schechter. David will be hooded by Andrea Schechter. Mary Schwert. Tyler Sherbin. Michael Sobera. Thank you. Nicholas Spornick. Cameron Sprouse. Dirk Strausser. Congratulations. Suna Sumir. Suna is the recipient of the Connecticut chapter of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists Recognition Award. Congratulations, Suna. Paul Trebich. Nice. Lanre Udu. Yash Vaishnav. Yash is awarded excellent performance in a clerkship for internal medicine. Congratulations, Yash. Sarah Vincent. Ravi Vedasinha. David Whitehead. Eric Yu. Parma Zahid. Parma is awarded excellent performance in a clerkship for psychiatry. Congratulations, Parma. Billy Li Ye Zhang. Last but not least, Hugh Zhang.
Will the candidates please remain standing? Mr. President, I have the honor to present from the Frank H. Netter, MD, School of Medicine, candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine.
By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Medicine with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Please be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Harold Kaplan, Associate Professor of Medical Sciences and Medicine, to deliver remarks on behalf of the faculty of the School of Medicine.
President Lay, Dean Keppen, Provost Thompson, Dr. Kaplan, my Netter faculty, administration, and staff colleagues, and most importantly, members of the class of 2018 and their family and friends. I've been asked to try to limit my remarks to around 5 minutes. I promise that I'll try. I have to warn you, though, that during my previous career in hospital administration, whenever a 15 or 20-minute presentation was needed, they would ask for a Kaplan 5 minutes. On the other hand, my son Todd, who has listened to and made more presentations than I ever will, has given me some good advice. Be brief, be right, and be gone. I feel a bit like I've been asked to say a few words at Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium. Perhaps that makes some sense and even has some value. Indeed, I think that I'm ideally positioned to offer you two important things: history and its major byproduct, perspective. In just 2 weeks, I will be attending the 55th reunion of my medical school class of 1963. I graduated from another school, the one that sits about 10 miles south of here, 55 years ago. That means that your perspective of me right now is the same as my perspective was back then of an MD graduate from the class of 1908. Similarly, you will gain my perspective when one of you gives a commencement address to the NETA graduating class of 2073. Contact me then, please, and let me know if my impressions are correct. So what are those impressions? Let's begin with a quote from another commencement address made to another class of graduating medical students. Quote, "The most common criticism made at present by older practitioners is that young graduates have been taught a great deal about the mechanism of disease, but very little about the practice of medicine. Or, to put it more bluntly, they are too scientific and do not know how to take care of patients." That quotation comes from the address given by Dr. Francis Peabody to the Harvard Medical School class of 1927. If I tried to read all the other good parts of Dr. Peabody's speech, I'd surely go beyond even a Kaplan 5 minutes. So instead, as a going-away present, Dr. Kenneth Dardick, who is one of our original MESH preceptors, has provided for each of you the copies that were distributed just a few minutes ago of his speech. You'll find that each copy has been annotated and signed by a member of the NETA faculty. Read the entire speech. There'll be a quiz next week. So now let's get back to that medical school graduate from the class of 1908. He probably used as his text Dr. Sir William Osler's The Principles and Practice of Medicine, first published in 1892. It was Osler who recognized the importance of bedside teaching and who actually created the concept of clinical clerkships for third and fourth year students. He also conceptualized the basic structure of postdoctoral residency training programs as we currently know them. He is best remembered, however, for his famous dictum derived from his concerns about his students' apparent infatuation with all that new science. "Listen to your patient," said Osler. "He is telling you the diagnosis." So what do we take from these remarks and the associated time frames? At any given point in time, it seems like we know a lot about medical science until we learn that we don't know much at all. If there was so much science in 1927 and so much more when I graduated in 1963, why does it now seem like everything I learned in medical school is no longer true? The exception might be gross anatomy, but I'm not sure about that. I often think that my generation of physicians were obliged to be better at the art of medicine, the art of being a good physician, because although we thought otherwise, we really had so little science. Between 1970 and 2007, I was engaged in the private practice of primary care internal medicine and gastroenterology. That was the pre-endoscopy era, and you couldn't make a living in a small city or town in Connecticut doing just gastroenterology. In 1970, I was unable to offer any effective treatments for peptic ulcer disease. I had nothing specifically available for ulcerative colitis or for Crohn's disease, or for that matter, for any of the common and serious diseases of the pancreas or of the liver. Forget about treating any GI malignancies. We had never heard of H. pylori and couldn't imagine that a bacteria could have anything to do with the development of an ulcer. We had no idea of the causation of inflammatory bowel disease, and of course we still don't. In fact, in the 1930s and 40s, many in the medical community considered inflammatory bowel disease to be psychiatric illnesses. My mentor, Dr. Howard Spiro, often explained to us GI fellows that if you, like your patient, were obliged to spend the better part of most days sitting on the pot, you too might become a little crazy. So what's the take home here? In the last 25 years, we've witnessed what I call the industrialization of healthcare. Just as the local mom and pop grocery stores of the 1950s gave way to the advent of supermarkets, solo medical practice or even small group practice is becoming financially and structurally untenable. Physician groups have grown and coalesced to the point where they are now mostly managed by MBAs instead of MDs. Consequently, it now becomes necessary for you to remind yourself that no matter who signs your paycheck, you still work for your patient. Throughout the last century, we've seen the science of medicine and the associated diagnostic and therapeutic armamentarium grow and evolve exponentially. It's been impossible at any given point to imagine the changes that will occur through any clinician's professional lifetime. However, no matter what specialty you're entering, there has been and always will be one constant: that changes not at all. Also, please note that in 1963, we had no effective medications or other effective forms of treatment available for any of the common problems like coronary artery disease, high cholesterol, hypertension, or any of the malignancies that have since become effectively treatable and sometimes curable. There were also no ultrasound exams, no CT imaging, MRIs, PET scans, laparoscopic or robotic surgery, endovascular surgery, or biologics. It didn't matter, though, because I knew that although I couldn't cure every patient, I could still help every patient. I had my little black bag, and I made house calls. The practice of making house calls has disappeared. They were inconvenient and disrupted the day schedule, unless they were in the middle of the night and only disrupted the physician's family. And as office-based technology developed, they were an inefficient way to diagnose and treat. But an unfortunate byproduct of the loss of the house call was the loss of a major diagnostic tool. As medical students, you've been taught that in the evaluation of a patient's problem and in the development of an assessment and plan, the patient's social and family history can be very important. Think then how valuable during your house call could be your personal observation and evaluation of the patient's living conditions and his interactions with family. How much could that influence your evaluation, your assessment, and your diagnostic plan? Dr. Irving Schiffman, a general internist and cardiologist who was one of my partners in medical practice, in a presentation he made a few years ago to house staff at the John Dempsey Hospital, said the following, and I quote, "In the 1940s and 50s, 60% of all patient encounters were at home. 60%. This number rapidly diminished by the time I entered practice in the early 1960s, but it was still expected that you would see your elderly, infirm patients at home. Seeing a patient at home surrounded by family, all of whom I bonded with, was one of the most enriching experiences of my professional life. I often was rewarded with tea and cookies." Our good friend Dr. Peabody astutely noted that, quote, "The treatment of a disease may be entirely impersonal. The care of a patient must be completely personal." He went on to say the significance of the intimate personal relationship between physician and patient cannot be too strongly emphasized. For in an extraordinarily large number of cases, diagnosis and treatment are directly dependent on it, and the failure of the young physician to establish this relationship accounts for much of his ineffectiveness in the care of patients. In 1927, it was almost always his, hardly ever hers. So, what about that one constant that I said changes not at all? As the physician, you may no longer be the captain of the ship, but you can still be the quarterback for the team. And you can set the tone for the evaluation and care of the patient. That is the power of the doctor-patient relationship, which has been and shall remain the most powerful tool we have in both the diagnostic and therapeutic armamentarium. Never forget that, and never let that tool rust at the bottom of your clinical toolbox. Go forth, live long, and prosper. I know you will make us proud.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan. I would now like to introduce Dr. James Ahern, who will give remarks on behalf of the class of 2018.
Thank you very much. I have to say it's a real honor to be standing here for the first time as an actual doctor. That's pretty surreal. And I'll pass out my speech at the end so you can see that Dr. Kaplan stole my next line, but I'm going to say it anyway because I wrote it. My grandfather would say about public speaking, be brief and be seated. I've got a 4-minute version and a 45-minute version of this speech, and we'll see which one comes out. Let me start by wishing all the mothers a very happy Mother's Day. Thank you all for sharing a portion of your day with us and letting us distract away the attention from you yet again. But really, none of us would be here without you. And I hope I speak for all of us graduates when I say that whether we express it or not, enough or not, we are truly grateful for your love and support, not just through medical school, but always. I'd also like to extend the thanks to the fathers, sisters, brothers, wives, husbands, fiancés, girlfriends, boyfriends, daughters, sons, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and all other extended family members who have supported us and encouraged us through the inevitable peaks and valleys of medical school. It's a tall order to endure our alternating celebrations and anxieties, our success and our doubts. You've nurtured when we needed nurturing, you've pushed when we needed pushing, and today we're all better for your efforts. And finally, let me include thanks to all the friends, faculty, administrators, preceptors, and mentors here today, and basically anybody else in the building right now. If you're here, you've supported us in ways big and small. I hope we've shown our appreciation, and in times we may have. In others, despite your gentle prodding, we may have been too self-consumed to see the bigger picture. So thank you. Thank you all for your kindness, insight, direction, friendship, and patience. The debt we owe you cannot be easily settled, and it's one that we will spend our careers repaying. Which brings me to the main point of what I'd like to say today, the charge to my fellow classmates. Today what we celebrate today is an accomplishment many years in the making. None of us is graduating by accident. We've all earned this distinction through effort and aptitude, and we deserve to be proud of what we've achieved. But as those around us today are a testament to, we did not do this by ourselves, and the success is not ours alone. Each of us, in our own unique way, has been afforded a distinct privilege in pursuing our careers in medicine, a privilege borne by those before and alongside us. I'm immensely grateful for the education and experiences we've had at Netter, and I'm reminded of a mentor who told me, if you're grateful for something, be responsible to it. So as we go out from Quinnipiac to our respective residencies and careers beyond, let us be responsible to not forget the village that raised us. Let us remember the breadth and the depth of the tools that we've developed in these 4 years. Let us be responsible to the doctors we envisioned we'd become when we first started, and that we re-envision for ourselves today. Let us take that collaborative spirit instilled in us at Netter, take the lessons that we've learned about the sum being greater than its parts, Today recognizes an immense accomplishment, but this is not the mountaintop. Let us take our experiences and continue to build on them, continue to push ourselves to be better than we are, to be more than we think we might be. Let us extend that kindness, patience, and insight that we've been shown through our medical school to our patients, colleagues, families, and future students. Let us be responsible to a rededication to patient-focused medicine, which we know to be better for our communities and better for ourselves. Let us go forth with one hand extending forward and one hand reaching back, that we may repay to future generations what has been so readily shared with us. It's been an honor and a privilege to learn alongside you all for the last 4 years. I'm immensely proud of what we've accomplished together. Thank you, and best of luck in the next chapter.
Thank you. Dr. Todd Cassis, Associate Professor of Medical Sciences and Director of the Clinical Arts and Sciences course, will now lead the class in the Hippocratic Oath, the text of which is printed in your program. I would also invite any physicians in attendance to join the class in the oath.
Hello, my name is Todd Cassis, and I had the privilege of being your Clinical Arts and Sciences course director. How may I address you today? For those who don't know what I'm saying, I had the really distinct honor of getting to work with you many years ago in learning how to introduce yourselves to patients. And now I have the honor of looking at you all as peers, as physicians, and it really is wonderful. I also like to think of myself as your defense against the dark arts teacher, because I like Harry Potter, but also on a more serious note, the dark arts really are avarice, greed, misuse of power, not being humble in the appropriate times, and worst of all is apathy. Apathy to your patients, apathy to yourself and your own needs and the needs of your family, and apathy in this bigger system that you're about to join. I know you all are going to be part of the solution. When I think about that imperfect system, I also think about the Hippocratic Oath. I think it is imperfect. It is very good, but it is imperfect. It's imperfect for what it says. It's also imperfect for what it doesn't say. But that being said, I really would like us in unison to speak the Hippocratic Oath so that we keep each other humble, grounded, and not apathetic. So if you wouldn't mind, please stand. Please take out your programs. And for those physicians in the audience, I'd ask you to stand as well if you'd like to read along. The Hippocratic Oath is at the back. And we're going to read in unison, so it's not going to be an echo approach. I swear to fulfill, to the best of my ability and judgment, this covenant. I will respect the hard-won scientific gains of those physicians in whose steps I walk, and gladly share such knowledge as is mine with those who are to follow. I will apply for the benefit of the sick all measures that are required, avoiding those twin traps of overtreatment and therapeutic nihilism. I will remember that there is art to medicine as well as science, and that warmth, sympathy, and understanding may outweigh the surgeon's knife or the chemist's drug. I will not be ashamed to say I know not, nor will I fail to call in my colleagues when the skills of another are needed for a patient's recovery. I will respect the privacy of my patients, for their problems are not disclosed to me that the world may know. Most especially must I tread with care in matters of life and death. If it is given to me to save a life, all thanks, but it may also be within my power to take a life. This awesome responsibility must be faced with great humbleness and awareness of my own frailty. Above all, I must not play at God. I will remember that I do not treat a fever chart, a cancerous growth, but a sick human being whose illness may affect the person's family and economic stability. My responsibility includes these related problems if I am to care adequately for the sick. I will prevent disease whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to cure. I will remember that I remain a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow human beings, those sound of mind and body as well as the infirm. If I do not violate this oath, may I enjoy life and art respected while I live, and remembered with affection thereafter. May I always act so as to preserve the finest traditions of my calling, and may I long experience the joy of healing those who seek my help. Thank you.
Please be seated. It is now my pleasure to welcome Dr. Ven Subramaniam of the class of 2017 to address the new alumni of the School of Medicine.
Thank you, Dean Keppen. As a member of the inaugural class of 2017, let me be amongst the first to congratulate you on your accomplishments and welcome you all as alumni of the Netter School of Medicine. From my entire one-year career of being a doctor, let me tell you that the training that you have received has more than adequately prepared you to tackle the trials and tribulations of residency and beyond. Not only that, but Quinnipiac provided us with the tools to become both successful physicians and leaders within the field of medicine. I have no doubt that you, the class of 2018, will represent the School of Medicine proudly in each of your respective specialties and communities. At this time, I ask you, the graduates, to please rise again. It is my honor to invite you to move the tassel to the left of your cap if you haven't done so already. This simple act signifies your transition from student to alumnus and the continuation of your unique, meaningful, and lifelong relationship with Quinnipiac University and the Frank H. Netter School of Medicine. Congratulations.
Before I reintroduce Colby Putnam, who will deliver the benediction, I have a few announcements. Only the platform party and faculty will recess out. We ask the graduates to go to the area behind the stage to have a class photo taken. Families and guests, we ask that you give your graduate a few minutes to have their photo taken before you meet up with them. We ask that you either remain at your seats or go directly to the reception at the Rocky Top Student Center next door while we accommodate a few moments for a class photo. Transportation to the Rocky Top Student Center for those needing assistance is available. Once outside, you will see signs on the left. Now please stand, and it is my privilege to ask Colby Putnam, Protestant chaplain, to please come forward and deliver the benediction.
Please join with me in a closing prayer. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.